He can also be playful, like when he sings with the group. Hey, I can be playful also. No, I'm not gonna stab myself for that. I actually think that was funny. It was. I'm not even obsessively gonna defend myself in that. It just was. Yes. He can also be jokey. He's calm, but also can be jokey at the same time, but isn't always that well timed, which adds even more realism to his character. He can also get bossy and emotional, and he's a very busy thinker. He is very hopeful and idealistic, believing in protecting the crew and the innocent aliens, and still thinking of him and Lindsay as married. But what makes him even more real is that he can get frustrated, like when he takes his ring off and throws it away. But we see he cannot really stick to it. He's obsessive about his optimism. He also can be decisiveless, like when Cosby is aggressive to the crew, says something about it, but not really doing something about it, when he keeps being secretive, endangering the crew, and not really acting upon his worries of the military using them and endangering the crew, saying he is their leader and that he will not let it get dangerous, yet still doing it and taking them to the place that might be radioactive, as well as not admitting the dangers to Lindsay. He's very unself-aware, thinking he's calm and knows what is responsible, but never truly acting on it, and he doesn't acknowledge that he fails to do that. He's also secretive about his feelings, being decisiveless in that department also. He's caring and cares about himself and Lindsay, and he makes some advances on her, but he stays superficial and doesn't really tell her how he feels. And you know what that is sad? If you never get the chance to tell someone how you felt, they're taken too soon. You're standing over them, looking in their lifeless eyes, and you know you've waited too long. Remember the Scrubs episode where the janitor showed he wanted hopes and dreams because he wasn't fugitive? Yeah, that was really funny. People aren't warm at the inside. Oh yeah, you're daddy's little princess. You're cutie cat. I love you. 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 You're so cute. You're adorable. You're adorable. Who's daddy's little princess? Who's daddy's little princess? If you tell anyone about this, I will make you eat your appendix. Cute little kitty. This is unless it isn't removed, of course. Otherwise, it will be your kidneys. That is, if you didn't have one removed. Because feeding someone their kidneys only works when you do it with both. Isn't that right? Remember when you first made a mice eat its own kidneys before you devoured it? Yes, you're cute. Yeah. Also, this problem leads him to be frustrated as he is with the military and Lindsay, and he can also be jealous and even condescending, and also he isn't always understanding or flexible, like when Lindsay thinks she saw aliens, he automatically assumes she's, alright, your cameo's done, get the fuck out of here! Okay, you can stay. Oh, okay, leave. Good. Where was I? That's not animal abuse, YouTube is not gonna flag for that. I just yelled at my cat a little bit. Doesn't everyone want to do that? Stop posting hate comments! Where was I? He automatically assumes she's crazy and wants her not to make a fuss, and he's idealistic but not open to deeper ideas like the existence of other life forms, not believing in them when one of his crew members clearly saw something strange, and he's not that understanding of Lindsay's frustrations with her rig being misused, and he's at first not understanding of him being scared. So all these problems very well come together to create a multi-layered overall character picture, which is that he cannot properly act or think or talk outside the box, and this is really original. He isn't too insecure or uncaring, and he does act, just not as much as he sometimes should. He isn't insecure and entirely closed up, he just isn't constructive and decisive enough, and he often takes out his stress on other people while he can be really nice. He learns to act on his emotions the right way and not just be idealistic but faithful, which is all very three-dimensional and original. His arc is also really detailed and ties tightly into the plot and themes. Tightly. Again, brain damage. Get over it. He starts off being critical and gossiping about the leaders of the company and being really angry when he hears of the military wanting them to be involved. And he's passive-aggressive, but he does say he will pull the plug when things go wrong. But he doesn't really act on it. And he then ignores Lindsay and insults her, not being understanding of her frustrations and then gossiping about her. And he at first acts like it was stupid of Lindsay to come there, even though he's of course very happy with it. But he then starts to be honest about his feelings, mentioning he thinks she came for him, and then expressing his frustrations of her not being invested in him. And then he gets depressed again, but at first tries to be complimentary and still has hope wearing the ring, but then cannot be honest enough about it when she doesn't immediately respond too nicely, and he starts insulting her boyfriend and being superficial, and when she gets angry he actually reaches a very tough low point and takes his ring off and throws it into the toilet, but he takes it back on, even getting his whole hand in the blue water. What the hell was that? And cannot really make a choice. And then he's a bit supportive, wanting to replace Hip, who's scared of radiation, but he's still condescending to him also. And this is made even more detailed by the fact he tries to get Coffee to cooperate more with the crew, as he sees that his crew is getting too much resentment towards the SEALs. But of course, Coffee is too stubborn and stressed, and he doesn't act on it either. What an asshole! He pushes Hip around like my boss. He criticized me for not taking down enough commies, and then when I fired a nuke at them, he complimented me. He actually was a great boss. His name was Cappuccino. That actually was smart. Okay, this time I'm getting upset, but it was. Yes. So then, after Coffee being mean, he acts blunt and angry to a crew member, yet he learns to be a bit supportive and understanding, allowing a scared diver to stay behind and calming him down, even considering taking him back to the rig. When his friend sees something scary and gets in a coma, he's even overwhelmed and doesn't have enough foresight to consider what it could be, but he starts being more open with Lindsay as he just lost an important crew member and realizes the importance of his friends around him, and realizing the importance of saving them, asking her opinion. He then also realizes how important it is to take risks for them, but he doesn't consider it could have been something non-human, and at first he isn't that understanding when Hippie acts scared. This annoys Lindsay, but he then acts fast and courageous, quickly having one try to unhook them from the crane, and when this fails and they crash, he goes to risk his life to save the crew members, and when he fails, he manages to stay calm and save himself because he knows he needs to use his knowledge to save the crew, and that they really count on him at this moment, and he's very happy when his ring actually saves him from death. Then, having lost a big part of his crew and seeing them stressed, he tries to comfort Sonny, and at first he tells him there's no hope to resume contact. But when realizing how scared he is and that he misses his wife, he decides to comfort him, assuring him he should keep trying, and he even checks on his common friend and the injured SEAL, and he sees a Coffee who says he was under orders, had no choice, and which caused a big part of the crew to die. Again, like my really nice boss. And then when he's confronted with the possibility of freezing and sees Lindsay helping them, he honestly tells her that he's glad that she is there, and he then acts responsible, not searching for the dead crew, staying calm and comforting the upset Hippie, and he sees the need him in the situation. He then becomes more faithful, looking back on why he and Lindsay got together and how it means a lot to him. They were a couple, and defending his decision to be with her to one night. And oh my god, why haven't I made a sex joke about it yet? I mean, it is a punny joke, so a punny name, so. But he thinks she outgrew him, overestimating her, and his close friend One Night actually gives him some perspective, saying she ain't half as smart as he thinks she is, and he kind of has to acknowledge that's true and gets more relaxed, even laughing about it. Then Lindsay sees the aliens and tells it to the crew, and they are mostly skeptical, and Virgil wants her to not create a panic, and she asserts she's sane and he should trust her. She isn't showing any signs of depression, nervous syndrome, or slurred speech or anything, and she wants him to be more decisive, and he still reacts understanding, and she asserts that he needs to look with better eyes than those of hate and fear, which Coffee looks at the aliens with, because he automatically assumes the Russians, but he very kindly indicates that he can't support her because he wouldn't know how to answer Coffee, as he would have solely her to gone. And Hippie shows him they have the nuke, and he at first doesn't believe it, but when Lindsay confronts Coffee and he has a man grab her, he gets the crew to protect her and threatens Coffee to support Lindsay, and he then calms Lindsay down. He then meets the aliens and sees he can believe in more spectacular things, and he's first scared to make contact with them when a wilder tentacle appears, but Lindsay makes him see there's nothing to fear, because he at first doesn't want to touch him, but she shushes and touches it, and it turns out to be totally safe. And he then becomes more understanding of her ideas and more faithful, as he sees sometimes having faith is rewarding, and it being understanding can be helpful. This is why I changed my course of life to become a kind person, because being kind can be rewarding. That just shows how great this film is. It changed my life. Okay, it was the therapy and the pills, but it is still a really good movie though. Then when Coffee locks them up, and after that they're freed by one of their fellow crew members, he becomes very decisive and courageous, and decides to go after Coffee, even though he's very dangerous, and even goes so far to scare Lindsay, deciding to go through the freezing water. And he also becomes understanding to Cat when he's too scared to swim all the way to the bay. Then when he cannot get to the door, he decides to fight Coffee himself, really taking necessary risks. And he then even takes charge from Lindsay and gives constructive advice when they're being chased by Coffee. Then when he and Lindsay are drowning, he openly says she's smart, and becomes more honest to her, and he gets very angry actually when Lindsay suggests suggests she needs to drown. He at first is very scared and he's totally overwhelmed by the situation, but he eventually realizes they need to do it anti-ecological, and then he takes her all the way back to the bay, even though she seems to drown, and he's totally scared by this, and he tries to revive her. And then when he thinks she's dead, he gets hysterical and he refuses to give up on her, but decides to keep going and shows honest emotions to her, saying she never backed out of anything in her life. And then it turns out that she is still somewhat alive and she can be brought back, and then he's totally full of joy and happy. Then he's warm and open to her when she's recovering, and then he goes down to disarm the bomb, knowing someone has to do it. And he assumes he's gonna die, and down there he has to trust himself to disarm the bomb, and then he accepts that he's gonna die when he turns out to only have about 5 minutes of oxygen left, and he actually tells Lindsay that he loves her. And what is very realistic here is that he decides to stay where he is. He's so tired and overwhelmed, he just wants to relax and not die full of stress, and at that moment he can finally honestly tell Lindsay how he feels about her. And such an acceptance of reality, you really just have to admire that. No, I'm just gonna stay nice, I really admire it. I can do this. Wait, I just read that some people claim that Catholics throughout the ages suppressed non-Catholics through crusades. You mean those wars where we reclaimed our territory, where fellow Catholics were being suppressed and became second-class citizens, which we had ruled for centuries before that, and which we reclaimed of the Seljuks, who were conquering at that moment more of our territory, which was Anatolia, which at that moment still belonged to the Eastern Orthodoxes, who asked for help, so we helped fellow Christians in defending their land and reclaiming previous land of theirs, in an attempt to prevent the fall of Byzantine allies. Well, okay, that is your opinion. We can agree to disagree. Yeah, everybody's got their own opinion, so that's my opinion. I don't think you're completely right, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so where was I? Bud is saved by the aliens, and he sees that his courageousness is rewarded, and he then sees they want to destroy the humans, as we can destroy ourselves through atomic weapons, but he sorts with his newfound faith. He shows them that they can't know for sure that we will destroy them or each other, but they show all the violence humans have committed, and he almost gives up, and then he sees they don't do it, showing how kind and courageous he was, showing that his bravery and his kindness show them that humans can be kind and brave, and that we can improve ourselves. So he shows how much he affected the aliens, and he also shows how good it can be to be faithful, because they just wanted to show us a message. They didn't really want to harm any of us. But he's now fully faithful and kind, and openly kisses Lindsay when he gets back and can totally reconcile with her again, and has become a lot stronger and more optimistic, a person with a lot more faith, who's a lot more understanding and more honest about his feelings, and is a lot more decisive. So his character arc is very gradual, very detailed, and flows from the plot, and he's also really likable, as even in the beginning he can be complimentary and open, and he's courageous, risking his life to save his crew, and later he saves the aliens and Lindsay, and he gets really sad when he loses her. He really doesn't take anyone's lives lightly, even when he has to leave some of his crew behind. He's sad by losing them, and when he sees them drown, even though those were just co-workers, he's incredibly sad of losing them as well, and he really shows he loves his team, and he comforts Kat and protects Lindsay. He's flawed, but not too much, and he really grows, so he's a very likable hero.